or that they message random women on Instagram thinking that somehow he will become Sydney Sweeney's boyfriend. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor, and here on this channel we talk a lot about crochet and a little bit about everything else. Today is another episode of the IRL podcast where we talk about dating without the apps, being single in our 20s, and whatever else may pop up in our everyday lives. So I'm gonna be like so real with you. I really haven't felt very human since Halloween. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so I've been down bad for about a month. Things have been really hard. I've been slowly coming out of it. Everything kind of comes in waves as emotions do. So thank you so much for being patient with my uploads and, dropping down to like 2 uploads a week, and I will elaborate a little bit more on that later as to why I also need to drop down as well. During that time though, I realized how vast my support system here is, as opposed to when I was living in South Dakota. Being able to see my family and basically all of my friends reminded me how not alone I was, even though I was feeling very lonely. So don't forget that even if you're lonely, you are not alone, and lean on your support system because I'm sure they lean on you as well. Also in November we had something really big happen. If you live in the United States, I'm sure you're aware of the recent presidential election. I know on this channel I don't talk about politics normally, and I don't plan on changing my channel to become somewhere where I will talk about politics a lot, but I am a liberal, progressive woman who values intersectional feminism, and I also am bisexual, so I am a part of the LGBTQ plus community, and I'm scared for what the next 4 years mean. My channel is somewhere that supports human rights, and if that is not your MO, thanks for stopping by. I'm still trying to figure out what my role in my community is. Yeah, I just want to make it known where I stand so that you know who you're watching and what kind of content that you are taking in, because I feel like I want to know those things from the people that I watch, and so I presume that you might also want to know that from me. So what have I been up to since we last spoke? Mostly a lot of time in bed rotting, feeling like everything was hopeless. I was able to read a little bit. So I have been reading Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus by John Gray. This book sucks donkey balls. This book is not based in actual science. This book has no sources or references in it. I don't know if maybe what resources have been put in since then, but I also have John Gray's more recent book from 2017, Beyond Mars and Venus, and that also has no references in it. So here's the last page of the book, and then it just goes into a note from the author about how you can go to his seminars, and then you can get his audio tapes, a free video offer, and then obviously about the author on the back. This book very much adheres to the gender binary, and not in a positive way. It's in this very toxic masculinity sort of way. It's a lot of women, you need to accommodate your men and read their minds, but remember that they cannot read yours, so you need to be direct with them. But don't be too direct with them or else they will feel like a failure, and that's also your fault. The only thing I have highlighted in this book is on page 84. Little changes can be made without sacrificing who we are. That is the only thing I have highlighted in this book, along with, it is naive to expect a woman to be perfectly loving all the time. Now, I think that there is some stuff in this book. A lot of it is, you know, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. But it's not... It's truly, like, not based in reality. Like, when he says men are from Mars, women are from Venus, the way he writes this book is if this is actually truth, as if this is, like, a piece of history. That men used to live on Mars and women used to live on Venus, and this is how these two worlds were. And it's very odd. And it's a lot of catering to men's egos and making sure that women conduct themselves in a way that doesn't bruise their ego, even if the men in our lives that we're in relationships with treat us poorly. We aren't supposed to say that they treat us poorly, because apparently they already know, but they don't really care. So this book was actually written in 1992. This is a first edition of this book. Yeah, 1992. And I had a problem with the very first page, the acknowledgements. So technically this is like IX. The first sentence on the acknowledgements page says, I would like to thank my wife Bonnie for sharing this journey of developing this book with me. I thank her for allowing me to share our stories and especially for expanding my understanding and ability to honor the female point of view. So his wife, like, helped him write this book in some way. She is not listed as a primary source. She's not listed as a resource. She is only thanked in this acknowledgements portion. John Gray is also a counselor, like a marriage counselor. And I don't understand how he can be so obtuse, but also have a practice where he, like, talks to people when he, like, has no empathy. He states that he's telling all these stories from their relationship, but he's really telling stories about how he was, like, a shit husband, and then he kind of learned empathy, and now he's not as shitty. I really don't recommend this book in any capacity. You will read a lot of the same regurgitated crap that you hear about gender roles, mostly on TikTok. Every few years, something cycles through and something like this kind of comes along. Most recently, and I know that even this is a bit outdated, it was the divine feminine and divine masculine, and how you can stay in your divine feminine and you need to make sure that he stays in his divine masculine so that he's a good partner for you. That stuff is this book in a different font. That is this book for the 2020s, basically. And if you listen to this sort of advice, it is kind of a way for you to become a doormat for your partner, but you're not supposed to resent your partner, because resentment is your fault, because you are the reason why you resent your partner, apparently. Only in the context of women, though. Another thing that this book does that I do kind of like is it talks about how you cannot use your partner as a sole source of happiness, which is so true, but it only talks about this in the context of women. It's only women that need to go out with their girlfriends. It's only women who need to apparently go shopping. That's his only thing that he can think of for, like, women hobbies, is them going out to drink with their friends and shopping. Those are the only two hobbies that apparently women can have. I would not go to him as a counselor, because he said in the first, like, chapter of this book that he didn't become a better counselor until he started becoming a better husband, which was very well into his marriage. So that makes me question what kind of counselor he was prior to his wife finally being like, can you just, like, be nice to me? So I can see why Bell Hooks didn't like this book. For reference, this is All About Love by Bell Hooks. This was the book I read last month. And in the preface of this book, actually, it critiques men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And I can see why. Like I said, I know it has to be a take what resonates, leave what doesn't. But I do have a problem with this weird gender binary being solidified into paper and having no science or sources to back it up. We all know that sociology is like a derivative science, but there's not even studies that are shown. It's not even like, in a survey of 100 people from XYZ, this is how like, there's nothing to back up anything in this book. So I kind of thought, why do I like this book, but I don't enjoy this book? This book is a collection of essays. It's thought-provoking. They aren't set in stone. Bell Hooks never really claims that this is something to live by. I feel like when I read this book, I was able to take what resonates, leave what doesn't, in kind of a proper way, because it was just more thought-provoking. It made me more introspective. Whereas this is very clean, cut and dry. It's almost presented as if it's a Bible for relationships. And I think that's kind of weird. Yeah, this book actually goes so far as to say if a man listens to his woman, she will no longer have PMS symptoms. I was so floored by this. Here it is. On page 120, some women who avoid dealing with their negative emotions and resist the natural wave of motion of their feelings experience premenstrual symptom. There is a strong correlation between PMS and the inability to cope with negative feelings in a positive way. That is just simply not true. Most women experience PMS symptoms in many ways, and it's not just negative emotions that we experience. It can be cramping, it can be cravings of any kind, it can be body aches, because our body is getting ready to menstruate. It is not fair to say that us repressing our feelings in any sort of way causes that. If anything, it is the PMS that causes the negative feelings, not the other way around. So I just was really floored by that statement in particular. The chapter I read today actually was all about scoring points and keeping score with your partner, and I think that keeping score with your partner is a surefire way to have your relationship die. And it's interesting too, because with women, apparently, everything a man does is worth 1 point, but he spends 3 whole pages on what things are worth what. So apparently, if he asks you to do something and she says yes and stays in a good mood, you score between 1 to 10 points, depending on how happy you are while doing that. Whereas the list for women of how men can score points, it was offer to take out the trash, offer to do the dishes. And it's no, just do the dishes. Just take out the trash if you notice that it's full. It's very outdated. If you are looking for something to fix your relationship, let me tell you, this book is not it. It'd probably be easier to just break up with your partner, or, spend the time and money going to a licensed marriage counselor. I think he is still doing seminars based on, I was looking through the back of Beyond Mars and Venus, which I know will be a whole other thing to go into when I start reading that, but it also had advertisements for sermons or seminars that he does, and I will be interested to see what he writes in that one. But I think that it would be easier to just get a divorce. If some of the people were acting like the way the men act, it is always the men that seem to have the problems. These women are I'm unhappy in the relationship, and I've been unhappy for 20 years. And then the man is I don't understand why she's not happy. And then John Gray's well, honey, you didn't tell him. And she's yes, I did. But now you tell him, and now he listens to you. I'm going to hop off my soapbox with this. I still have not finished the book. I will finish the book before the end of November, and I really don't think that I have anything more to say on this book. Like I said, I will finish it, but unless something really crazy comes up in the next 3 chapters that I have left to read, I don't think I will be talking about this in my next podcast update. Now to the actual in real life portion of this video. While going through my mental spiral, I didn't go to many events, but I did go on a date. I met someone who was super, super charming one night when I was out at a bar with some friends, and so we decided to go on a date. So I just kind of want to preface this. When I talk about dates or dating blunders and stuff, I guess I'm doing it to bring awareness to what's going on, because some people be acting up, and you don't have to take that sort of treatment. Also, if you act this way, please stop. So I'm a pretty intense person. I always have been, and when I'm on dates, I very much fast track some stuff. I like to know where people stand and build off of that. Part of this is their thoughts on politics, because I don't want to be with someone who doesn't believe that women, LGBTQ plus minorities, like, don't deserve rights. I mean, I am a woman and I am a part of the LGBTQ plus community, so obviously those two things are very important to me. This man got very angry at me when I tried to bring up some things that were important to me and tried to skirt around my direct questions. And I didn't have to ask him who he voted for. I understand that that's like a private matter. People don't really have to tell you, even though I know it is very much a trend of people like blasting all over Facebook who they voted for. But at the end of the day, it is a private matter. They don't have to tell you. But their views on certain issues, you can make a pretty good educated guess. He even told me that he had gone to a bar a few weeks prior to the election where women were asking who he was going to vote for and would not talk to him after he answered them. And so he got angry at me retelling that, when he was retelling me that story. So he felt by telling me his views on things and who he voted for that I would no longer want to talk to him. He was right, but wouldn't you want to be with someone who has those same like values as you? I mean, Jesse Waters on Fox said that voting differently than your husband is similar to a woman having an affair. So I don't understand, like, that is very extreme and also not true, but people in general want to date people with the same thoughts as them. And it's always liberal women who have to like make concessions for their conservative boyfriends, which I also find to be very interesting as someone who has also like done it myself. It's like not fun and it's very like dehumanizing. And I just don't understand why conservative men don't want to date conservative women. They always want to date women who they can like break in some way, and I've experienced that. So I know that there's some people saying that like politics don't belong in like your friendships, relationships. It's so great that you feel that way, but there are very real things that are happening right now. Everyone has a right to be with someone who values who they are as a person and their human rights. We can disagree on like some stuff, but like human rights is like, I'm very strong on that. This man also worked a corporate sales job and tried to say that he worked as hard as a blue-collared worker because he drove a lot for work. Like, that was his correlation. He was like, yeah, I drive a lot for work. I basically work as much as a blue-collared man. And that really rubbed me the wrong way. I think because it made him seem like he was trying to do more. He was trying to claim that he did more physical labor than he actually does. My dad is a blue-collar worker, has been for like my entire life. I've been surrounded by blue-collared people and, like, people who work these very physically demanding jobs my whole life, and I know how hard that they work. And to see this very, like, scrubbed clean man try and claim that level of work was almost disrespectful to me. Like, he was trying to say, like, I work so hard. And, like, he probably still does work hard, but you don't need to, like, you aren't a blue-collared worker. Like, those two are not the same. Hi, Brew. What? What, baby? Oh my gosh. That's, like, not really a big thing, but it did bother me. So here was the real kicker of the date, and if you are a man watching this, please do not do what this man does. What? So he told me that he liked to message celebrities on Instagram hoping they would respond and that he would get like a celebrity girlfriend. Why did he tell me this? Because I told him that I liked Tate McRae and that she was like one of my favorite pop stars right now. I really enjoy my music. I got to see her at Lollapalooza. She's a great performer. But I cannot stand how gross men are about her. Like, it really grinds my gears. Like, she's hot. She's pretty. Don't get me wrong. But, like, when I was at Lollapalooza, the amount of men that I listened to, like, in detail talk about how they want to have sex with her was disgusting. And this is not the fault of her, right? Like, that's not her fault. So I told this man I liked her. And he went, oh, she's bae. I DM'd her on Instagram a couple times. And I was like, what? Why? Do you do that a lot? And he goes, well, sometimes. And so I told him about this experience at Lollapalooza. And he looked at me and said he would have done the same thing. And I went, that's fucking gross. That's really gross. He also told me about how he messaged Sydney Sweeney, multiple contestants from the Bachelor reality TV show. And later in the night, I had expressed that I wanted to go to a Frost hockey game. So the Frost is Minnesota's first women's hockey team. And he went, just so you know, I also messaged a woman on the Frost team. So I was like, hi, this behavior is really gross. Why do you do this? And he literally said, when a man, he was only like 28. When a man gets to be a certain age and a certain time in his life, he just decides to start shooting for the moon and seeing what he can get. I was like, why are you here with me then? I was so floored. I was floored by this behavior. Also that he was like so willing to tell me about this behavior. I'm like, these are things that maybe you should keep like inside. Also, his breath smelled the entire night. The entire night. It was so bad. We were like maybe about 5 feet is a lot. We were like at the bar on our date, like at the corner. So we were maybe only like 2 feet apart from each other. I could smell his breath the entire night. It was so bad. So obviously not a stellar date. And I'm telling you about this date because sometimes people think that just because you meet someone in person that they like might be the one. Odds are good that they are not the one, unfortunately. That doesn't mean that you can't give people a chance, but it also is good to know where people stand on certain topics and their behaviors before you move forward with them. You don't want to get super emotionally invested in someone and find out that they don't actually care about your human rights, or that maybe they are consuming a lot of corn, or that they message random women on Instagram thinking that somehow he will become Sydney Sweeney's boyfriend. Pivoting a little bit, I did go to my first singles event last week. I went to a flirt hour through Thursday Night Dating. It was at a brewery here in Minneapolis. I had been getting a lot of targeted ads for this on Instagram and thought it might be kind of nice to give it a try. It was $14 to go to the event. And overall, it was a really good experience, but like super odd at the same time. Not odd in a bad way, but in a very new experience sort of way. Everyone I talked to, both men and women, were super, super friendly and trying to get to know each other. I talked to a few guys, and it was interesting because after a few minutes with them, they would go, hey, can I grab your number? Let's go out sometime. We'd exchange contact info, and then we would go talk to other people. Now, this process doesn't bother me at all, but it was almost like watching people swipe on Tinder in real time. I do think I would go to another one of these events. My life is about to get pretty busy from about now until April, especially on Thursday nights. So I'll have to check out, see what other events are kind of going on, but I did like the experience of going to one of these events. I would go to one again. So that was quite a lot, doing an entire month recap all in one, but I am really excited for this upcoming holiday season. I love Christmas. I would love to do more Christmassy things, but I do need to figure out what those things are. I have some markets coming up for my small business, and I've been working really hard to get some stuff done for those. I've been working on stockings. I'm also almost done with this book, as I mentioned before, and in December I will be reading The Darcy Myth, Jane Austen, Literary Heartthrobs and the Monsters They Taught Us to Love by Rachel Feder. So I had originally thought that I needed to read Pride and Prejudice to understand this book, but after looking over what the chapters are actually about, I think that it talks a lot more about like men in literature rather than just Darcy. Darcy just happens to be like the most well-known one for the most part. I think as someone who loves romance, I do need to read Pride and Prejudice, but I'm not going to get around to it before reading this book, and I do think that that's okay. Another thing, I have been sticking to a workout routine. I've been working out 3 times a week now for a whole month. I am very happy with this. I've been doing high intensity interval training, so that's HIIT, and also LIT, so low intensity interval training, and a few other things from NK Fit on YouTube. I really, really enjoy her like workout style videos. I really love her energy and her channel. So let me know in the comments below how your life is going if you feel like sharing, and if not, just put up the snowflake emoji because I am ready for some snow. I want it to snow so bad. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.